Bride discovers groom's truth, minutes before the altar. Her response shakes everyone. Emily Johnson felt her heart race as she adjusted her dress in the mirror of St. Mary's Church's bridal room. In 15 minutes, she would walk down the aisle to marry the man she had loved for 2 years. Everything seemed perfect, but a strange unease had bothered her since she woke up. That's when she heard loud laughter coming from the hallway. The voice of Tyler, her fiancé, mixed with the laughter of his groomsmen. Curious, she moved closer to the slightly open door to check on them. "Dude, you actually did it. I couldn't believe it when you said you'd marry Johnson's daughter in less than a year," said Jason, the best man. $50,000, man. That bet was the best thing I've ever done, Tyler replied, still laughing. Emily's blood ran cold. She hid behind the door, struggling to breathe. This couldn't be true. "You're one lucky bastard, Tyler. The girl's rich, beautiful, and head over heels for you. And the best part, she doesn't suspect a thing," commented Brandon, another groomsman. "From day one, I knew she'd fall for my charm. These rich girls are all the same. They play hard to get, but deep down they just want a guy who doesn't kiss up to them," Tyler said casually. Emily's legs trembled. Her hands shook so badly she could barely lean against the wall. Everything she had lived with Tyler over the past months flashed through her mind like a movie. The romantic dinners, the trips, the declarations of love. It had all been a lie. "So, when do you get the money?" Jason asked. "Right after the honeymoon. The deal was to marry her within a year and stay married for at least 3 months. After that, I can even divorce if I want. But honestly, why would I? Life's going to be way easier as the son-in-law of the richest businessman in town." Tears streamed down Emily's face, smudging the makeup that had taken hours to perfect. She needed to get out of there, needed to think. How had she been so naive? "Emily? What's wrong, sweetheart?" The gentle voice of her matron of honor, Margaret, brought her back to reality. Margaret was a woman in her 60s, a family friend for decades. She had helped Emily pick her dress, plan the ceremony details. She was like a second mother to her. "Aunt Margaret, I heard something," Emily whispered, still in shock. Margaret took one look at her and understood. She closed the door and guided Emily to a chair. "Take a deep breath, dear. Tell me what happened." Between sobs, Emily repeated everything she had heard. With each word, Margaret's expression shifted from concern to outrage. "That despicable man," Margaret muttered, fighting the urge to yell. "Emily, you need to confront him now, before this farce goes any further. But the guests, my family, everyone's waiting. And you think you should marry a man who only wants your money? Sweetheart, it's better to be embarrassed now than to live a lifetime of lies." Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. It helps us newcomers a lot. Now, back to the story. Margaret helped Emily wipe her face and fix her makeup. The young woman needed to be strong for what came next. With determined steps, they left the bridal room and headed toward the hallway where Tyler was still talking with his friends. "Tyler," Emily called, her voice steady despite her pounding heart. The 3 men turned, startled. Tyler smiled when he saw his bride, then immediately realized something was wrong. "Sweetheart, what's the matter? You look—" $50,000, Emily interrupted, staring straight into his eyes. "Was that the bet's price?" Tyler's smile vanished instantly. Jason and Brandon exchanged nervous glances. The silence in the hallway was deafening. "Emily, I can explain..." "Explain what? That you lied to me for 2 years? That everything we had was just a scam for you to make money?" Tyler ran his hand through his hair, visibly nervous. "It's not like that, sweetheart. Yes, it started as a bet, but I really fell in love with you. You have to believe me." "Believe you?" Emily's voice rose. "You just told your friends I'm just another spoiled rich girl like all the others." Jason tried to intervene. "Emily, you heard wrong." "Tyler, I heard wrong." She turned to him furiously. "I heard you laughing at me, laughing at how naive I am, at how I fell for his lies." Brandon took a step back. The situation was spiraling out of control, and he didn't want to be in the middle of it. "My love, please, let's talk in private," Tyler pleaded, reaching for Emily's arm. She pulled away immediately. "Don't touch me. I have nothing to say to you in private. Everything you had to tell me you should have said 2 years ago." Margaret, who had been silently observing everything, approached Emily. "My dear, the guests are already wondering about the delay. You need to decide what you're going to do." At that moment, Catherine Johnson, Emily's mother, appeared in the hallway. She was an elegant 55-year-old woman, always impeccable in her posture and appearance. Seeing her daughter clearly shaken and in tears, her expression changed instantly. "What's going on here?" she asked sternly. Emily looked at her mother, feeling all the pain and humiliation she had held back for the past few minutes. "Mom, Tyler, he made a bet that he could marry me within a year. This was all just a game to him." Catherine looked at Tyler with a coldness that made the young man gulp. "I knew it," she said, more to herself than to the others. "What do you mean you knew?" Emily asked, surprised. "I always suspected him, Emily. A boy from the outskirts of Columbus, no family, no money, shows up out of nowhere in your life, and within a few months he's practically living in our house. It was too obvious." Tyler felt anger rising in his chest. "You've always treated me like I was beneath you. You never gave me a chance." "And I was right, wasn't I?" Catherine shot back. "You proved exactly what I thought of you from the beginning." "Oh, look who's talking. The woman who lives in that mansion off the backs of others, who's never worked a day in her life." "Tyler!" Emily was shocked by his aggression. "That's right, Emily. Your mother always looked down on me because I'm poor, because I grew up in Westside Heights, because my mother is a cleaner, and my father left when I was 8. To her, I was never good enough for you." Margaret realized the argument was getting out of hand. "Everyone, please, let's try to resolve this calmly. There are 200 people waiting at St. Mary's Church." "Calmly?" Tyler laughed bitterly. "You want me to stay calm after 2 years of being humiliated by this family? You think I didn't notice the looks, the comments? Like I was some kind of gold digger?" Catherine remained composed. "And weren't you? The bet proves it. The bet was only at the beginning. I truly fell in love with Emily, but you never wanted to see that." Jason, who had stayed quiet during the whole argument, decided to step in. "Man, I think you should stop right there." "Why, Jason? Afraid I'll tell the whole truth?" Tyler looked at his friend with disdain. Emily realized there was more to the story. "What truth, Tyler? What else are you hiding?" Tyler hesitated. He had said too much and didn't know how to backtrack. "Just say it, bro," Brandon pressed. "You've already ruined everything anyway." "It's not just about the money." Tyler lowered his head. "The bet had other conditions." Emily Johnson's heart stopped for a second. "What conditions?" "They wanted me to bring proof, photos, videos, intimate things of ours." The shock on Emily's face was visible. Margaret had to hold her to keep her from falling. "You didn't do that," Emily whispered. "Please tell me you didn't do that." "I never could, Emily, I swear to you. No matter how much they pressured me, I couldn't do that to you." Jason let out a sarcastic laugh. "Oh, now you play the saint. Did you forget the photos you sent in the group?" "What photo?" Catherine asked, alarmed. Tyler glared furiously at Jason. "They were normal photos of her sleeping innocent things. You took photos of me without me knowing." Emily's voice came out as a disbelieving whisper. At that moment, Sarah, Emily's younger sister, came running down the hallway. At 22, she was a journalism student and had always been very protective of her older sister. "Emily, everyone's asking where you are. Father Thomas wants to know if—" She stopped when she saw the scene. "What's going on?" Catherine quickly pulled her youngest daughter aside and summarized the situation. Sarah's face grew redder with anger. "I knew there was something wrong with this guy," she exclaimed. "Emily, I have something to show you." Sarah pulled her phone from her pocket and began frantically tapping on it. "What are you doing?" Emily asked. "Remember when I said I didn't like his friends? I managed to get into their messenger group a few weeks ago." Tyler turned pale. "Sarah, what did you do?" "What I had to do to protect my sister." She showed the phone screen to Emily. "Look at these messages." Emily took the phone with trembling hands and began reading. The messages were from months ago, from the group Tyler had with his friends. "Tyler, dude, I don't know if I can keep doing this. Jason. Bro, you've come this far, you can't quit now. Tyler. But I really like her. Brandon. You like her money, right? Lowell. Tyler. You don't understand. She's different from what I thought. Jason. Different, my foot. She's just another spoiled rich girl. Focus on the prize. Emily kept reading, seeing how Tyler had struggled internally for months. There were messages where he defended her from his friend's cruel comments, where he said he wanted to quit the bet. Tyler, is this true? She asked, showing him the phone. He nodded, unable to meet her eyes. I tried to quit so many times, Emily, but they wouldn't let me. What do you mean they wouldn't let you? Catherine asked. Jason realized he was about to be exposed and tried to slip away, but Margaret stopped him. Where do you think you're going, boy? I have nothing to do with this, Jason said nervously. Tyler glared at his friend in anger. Nothing to do with it? You're the one who came up with the bet. You're the one who kept pressuring me to stay in it. Hold on. Brandon tried to defend himself. The bet was your idea, Jason, but we just went along with it. Sarah kept scrolling through her phone. There's more here, Emily, a lot more. She showed a private conversation between Jason and Brandon. Jason, Tyler's getting soft. He's already said twice he wants to quit. Brandon, so what now? Jason, I'll tell him about the photos we have of Emily's dad. Brandon, what photos? Jason, some I got when I worked at his company. The old man isn't as saintly as he seems. Emily's eyes widened. What photos of my dad? Tyler sighed deeply. Emily, I didn't want you to find out like this. What photos, Tyler? She insisted. Your dad. He had an affair with his secretary a few years ago. Jason got photos and threatened to show them to you and your mum if I quit the bet. Catherine turned pale. Richard had an affair. Emily's world completely collapsed. In a matter of minutes, she had discovered that her fiancé had deceived her, that his friends had blackmailed her, and that her father had betrayed the family. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now, continuing. At that moment, Richard Johnson appeared in the hallway. He was a 58-year-old man with graying hair and an elegant demeanor. The owner of one of the largest construction companies in the region, he had always been respected in the community. What's going on here? The guests are getting impatient, he said, but quickly sensed the tension in the air. Emily, why are you crying? Catherine looked at her husband coldly. Tell her, Richard. Tell her about the secretary. Richard's face turned pale. He glanced at Tyler and then at Jason, immediately realizing his secrets had been exposed. Emily, Dad, is it true? Her voice trembled. Richard lowered his head. It was a mistake, sweetheart. One I regret every day. Catherine let out a bitter laugh. 25 years of marriage, 25 years. Catherine, please, now's not the time. Not the time. She raised her voice. Our daughter just found out her fiancé lied to her, that you cheated on me, and you think now's not the time. Aunt Margaret tried to calm things down. Everyone, let's take a deep breath. I know this is all very confusing, but we have a church full of people waiting. And what do you think I should do? Emily asked, feeling lost. Pretend nothing happened and go through with the wedding anyway. Tyler cautiously stepped closer to her. Emily, I know I've made terrible mistakes, but what I feel for you is real. These last few months have been the best of my life. How can I believe you now? She asked through tears. Because I'm here telling you everything. I could have stayed quiet, gone through with the charade, but I couldn't. I can't lie to you anymore. Jason scoffed. Oh, please. You're only telling the truth because you got caught. Tyler turned to him furiously. Shut up, Jason. You ruined my life. I ruined it. You're the one who took the bet. No one forced you. You blackmailed me, threatened to destroy her family if I backed out. Brandon, who had stayed quiet the whole time, finally spoke. Jason, tell them why you did it. Everyone looked at Brandon, surprised by his intervention. What are you talking about? Jason asked nervously. Tell them you were in love with Emily, that you tried to date her before Tyler came along and she rejected you. The silence that followed was deafening. Emily stared at Jason, trying to remember. Suddenly, it came back to her. "The college party," she whispered. "You tried to force yourself on me in the parking lot." Jason turned red. "That was a misunderstanding." "A misunderstanding?" Sarah jumped in. "You grabbed my sister. She had to push you away." Tyler looked at Jason in disgust. "So that's why you came up with this bet? For revenge?" "It wasn't revenge," Jason tried to defend himself. "It was a test. I wanted to prove to her that a poor guy only wants money." "And you succeeded," Emily said, looking at Tyler. "You proved exactly what you wanted." Tyler's heart shattered. "Emily, it's not like that." "Yes, it started as a bet, but I changed. You changed my life." Richard, who had been watching the whole scene, stepped toward Tyler. "Son, do you really want to marry my daughter?" "More than anything in the world," Tyler answered without hesitation. "Then prove it," Richard said firmly. "Prove you're not here for our money." "How?" Tyler asked. "Give it all up. The bet money, the inheritance she'll receive when she marries, any financial benefit you'd get as my son-in-law." Catherine looked at her husband in surprise. "Richard, what are you doing?" "I'm giving him a chance to prove he's changed," Richard said, staring directly at Tyler. "Do you accept?" Tyler didn't hesitate. "I accept." "It's not just that," Richard continued. "You'll have to work to win me over again, and win over my wife, and most importantly, win over my daughter from scratch." Emily looked at her father, surprised by his proposal. "Dad, you can't decide this for me." "I'm not deciding, sweetheart. I'm offering an alternative. You can walk into that church right now and call everything off in front of all the guests, or you can give him a chance to prove he's changed." "What if I choose to cancel?" Emily asked. "Then I'll fully support your decision," Richard said. "But if you choose to give him a chance, it has to be a real chance with clear rules." Margaret stepped closer to Emily. "My dear, the choice is yours. But remember what I've always told you. Everyone deserves a second chance to make things right." Emily glanced around. Her family was shattered. Her fiancé had lied to her for 2 years, and she had 200 people waiting in the church. But for some reason, a part of her still wanted to believe the love she felt for Tyler was real. "What kind of rules?" she asked. Richard smiled faintly. "First, you two will go to couples therapy. Second, he'll work at my company for a year, starting as an assistant, proving he's willing to put in the effort. Third, you'll live in a modest apartment, paid for by his salary, not our money. And fourth," Catherine added, surprising everyone, "he'll pay back every single dollar spent on this wedding. Every cent." Tyler swallowed hard. The wedding had cost over $100,000. "I accept," he said without hesitation. "Tyler," Jason tried to intervene, "are you crazy? Walk away from this madness." "The only madness was listening to you." Tyler turned to his former friend. "Our friendship ends here, Jason. Forever." Jason looked around, realizing he'd completely lost control of the situation. "Brandon, let's go. This has turned into a circus." "I'm staying," Brandon said, surprising Jason. "I want to see if Tyler can win her back." Jason stormed out of the hallway, stomping his feet. Everyone fell silent for a few moments. "So, Emily," Richard asked, "what's your decision?" Emily looked at Tyler. Even after everything she'd discovered, she could still see the same affection in his eyes that made her feel special. "I need you to answer one thing with complete honesty," she said to Tyler. "Anything." "When did you realize you were truly falling in love with me?" Tyler closed his eyes, as if reliving the memory. "It was the day you took care of me when I had dengue fever. You didn't have to do that. We weren't even officially dating yet, but you stayed at my place for 3 days, cooking, buying medicine, taking care of me like I was family." Emily remembered that day perfectly. Tyler had fallen ill at work, and she'd taken him home. She'd been worried and decided to look after him. "That night, when you fell asleep on the couch beside me to check if my fever had gone down, I looked at you and thought, 'This girl truly loves me,'" Tyler continued, his eyes glistening. "And that's when I realized I was truly falling for you too. It was the first time in my life someone had ever taken care of me like that." Tears streamed down Emily's face. She remembered feeling something just as strong that day. "Do you remember what I told you that morning?" she asked. Tyler smiled for the first time since the chaos had begun. "You said I was important to you and that you'd never abandon me. And do you remember your reply?" "I told you that you were the first person who made me believe I deserved to be loved." Catherine, who had heard the entire conversation, felt something stir in her heart. For the first time, she was seeing Tyler as a human being, not as a threat. "Mom," Emily turned to her, "what do you think I should do?" Catherine took a deep breath. "Sweetheart, I spent 2 years judging that boy by his background, not his character. Maybe I was wrong about some things." "Some things?" "He lied to you, Emily, that's undeniable. But I also lied to you about your father. Maybe we all deserve a chance to start over." Richard stepped closer to his wife. "Catherine, about what happened—" "Not now, Richard," she interrupted. "Right now, this is about our daughter." Margaret glanced at her watch. "Emily, my dear, you need to decide. The guests have been waiting for over an hour." Emily took a deep breath. "I'm going into that church." Tyler smiled, relieved. "But," she continued, "I'm not getting married today." Tyler's smile faded. "I'm going in there to tell everyone what happened. I'll give them the chance to understand why this wedding can't happen today." "Emily," Tyler tried to speak. "Let me finish," she raised her hand. "I'll tell them everything, the bet, the lies, all of it. And then I'll say you'll have to win me back, from scratch, in front of everyone." Tyler nodded. "I understand. If after a year you can prove you've changed, that what you feel for me is real, then maybe we can try again. But it has to be done the right way, with honesty." "What if I can't?" Tyler asked. "Then at least you'll have tried honestly," Emily replied. Richard smiled, proud of his daughter's maturity. "I think you're making the right decision, Emily." Sarah hugged her sister. "I support you no matter what you decide." Margaret helped Emily straighten her dress. "Are you sure you want to do this in front of everyone?" "I am," Emily said firmly. "I'm tired of pretending everything's fine when it's not." They walked toward St. Mary's Church. Tyler, who should have been at the altar, now walked behind the family, unsure of his place. The church was packed. Relatives, friends, co-workers, all were impatient and curious about the delay. When they saw Emily enter without music or the traditional procession, whispers filled the room. Emily walked to the altar. Father Thomas, a kind 70-year-old man who had known the family for decades, greeted her with concern. "My child, is everything all right?" "Father Thomas, I need to speak to everyone," Emily said, taking the microphone. A complete silence fell over the church. Every eye was on her. "I know you're all here today to celebrate my wedding to Tyler," she began, her voice shaky but firm. "But I recently discovered things that changed everything." A murmur spread through the crowd. People exchanged glances, trying to understand what was happening. "Tyler made a bet with his friends," Emily continued. "A bet that he could marry me in less than a year to win $50,000. Shock was visible on the guests' faces. Some whispered angrily. "I could have found out and quietly cancelled everything. I could have made up some excuse, but I don't want any more lies in my life." Tyler, standing at the back of the church, felt every eye turn to him. Some were angry, others disappointed, many just curious. "But I also learned other things," Emily went on. "I learned that Tyler tried to back out of the bet several times, that he was blackmailed into continuing. And even though it all started as a lie, he truly fell in love with me." The murmurs in St. Mary's Church grew louder. People were clearly confused about where this story was headed. I could hate Tyler for what he did, and part of me really does. But I also understand that we all make mistakes, some worse than others. Mrs. Henderson, an 80-year-old woman who had been the family's neighbor for decades, stood up. "My dear, what are you trying to say with all this?" Emily smiled at the woman who had always been like a grandmother to her. "I'm saying I won't be getting married today, Mrs. Henderson, but I'm going to give Tyler a chance to prove he's changed." "A chance how?" another voice called from the crowd. "He'll have to win me back, from scratch. He'll work at my father's company for a year, starting at the bottom. He'll live in a modest apartment with only the money he earns. And at the end of that year, if I feel he's truly changed, if he can prove he really loves me, then maybe we can try again." Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now, continuing. Dr. Phillips, a family friend sitting in the front row, stood up. Emily, are you sure you want to do this? Give a second chance to someone who lied to you. Dr. Phillips, have you ever loved someone who didn't deserve you? Emily asked. The man smiled sadly. Yes, my dear, I have. And do you regret trying? No, he answered after a moment. Even if it didn't work out, I don't regret trying. Tyler, who had listened to the whole conversation in silence, stepped closer to the altar. Can I speak? He asked Emily. She hesitated, but handed him the microphone. I know many of you only met me today, Tyler began, looking at the crowd, and I know the first impression wasn't great. A few people laughed nervously, but I want you to know that everything Emily said is true. I made terrible mistakes. I lied to her. I lied to you. I lied to myself. He looked at Emily before continuing, but it's also true that I fell in love with her, and it wasn't for her family's money or their social standing. It was for who she is. And who is she? Someone shouted from the back of the church. Tyler smiled. She's the woman who took care of me when I was sick, even though she barely knew me. Who introduced me to her family, even when she knew there'd be resistance. Who defended me every time someone said I wasn't good enough for her. His words moved some people in the church. Emily felt her eyes filling with tears again. She's the woman who made me believe I could be better than I was. And that's why I wanted to give up on the bet, because I realized she deserved more than what I was giving. Tyler turned to Emily. And that's why I accept the challenge you're giving me, because I want to be the man you deserve. Mrs. Rivera, Tyler's mother, who had stayed at the back of the church during the whole commotion, stood up. She was a 55-year-old woman with graying hair and hands calloused from work. She was clearly nervous among all these well-dressed people. Can I say something? She asked timidly. Emily nodded and Tyler handed the microphone to his mother. I don't have much schooling like you all, Mrs. Rivera began. I've worked as a cleaner since my husband left. I raised my son alone, cleaning 3 houses a day. The church fell completely silent. Tyler was always a good boy, never gave me trouble, always helped me. But I know he grew up angry. Angry about being poor, angry seeing other boys with things he couldn't have. She looked at her son with affection. Thus, when he started dating Emily, I saw him change. For the first time in his life, I saw my son truly happy. Not happy because he had achieved something, but happy because he loved someone. Tears streamed down the faces of many people in St. Mary's Church. I don't know what this bet you're talking about is. My son never told me, but I know he loves this girl. I saw it in his eyes every time he spoke about her. Mrs. Rivera looked at Emily. My dear, I know you don't know me, and I know your family has reasons not to trust my son, but I'm asking you, give him a chance. He's not perfect, but he has a good heart. Emily stepped closer to Mrs. Rivera and took her hands. You don't have to ask me that. I've already decided to give him that chance. But why? Asked the woman, surprised. Because any child raised by a woman like you deserves a second chance. The embrace between the two women moved the entire church. Even Catherine, who had always been resistant to Tyler's family, felt touched. Father Thomas took the microphone again. My children, in 40 years of ministry, I've never seen a situation like this, but I've also never seen so much honesty and courage. He looked at Tyler and Emily. Marriage is about commitment, about choosing to love someone every day, even when it's hard. You two are showing that you understand this. Father, said Emily, what do you think we should do? I think, he replied with a smile, you should turn this ceremony into something different. Not a wedding, but a commitment. A public promise that you'll work to build something real together. The idea pleased Emily immediately. Tyler, would you agree? I'd agree to anything that gives me a chance to prove my love for you. Father Thomas addressed the guests. Who here is willing to witness this commitment, to support these two young people on this journey? To everyone's surprise, the first person to stand was Catherine, then Richard, then Margaret, Sarah, Mrs. Rivera, Mrs. Henderson, Dr. Phillips. Within minutes, The entire church was on its feet. "Very well," said the priest. "Then let's do this the right way." He asked Tyler and Emily to stand at the altar facing each other. "Tyler," the priest began, "do you commit to spending the next year proving that your love for Emily is true, to working every day to be the man she deserves?" "I do," replied Tyler, looking straight into Emily's eyes. "Emily," the priest continued, "do you commit to giving Tyler a real chance? To being fair in your judgment and keeping your heart open to the possibility of forgiveness?" "I do," she answered. "Then," said Father Thomas with a smile, "I declare you committed, not as husband and wife, but as two people willing to fight for true love." The church erupted in applause. It was an unprecedented situation, but somehow everyone was moved by this display of courage and honesty. Brandon, who had been watching everything in silence, approached Tyler. "Man, I want to apologize. I should have supported you when you wanted to walk away from the bet." Tyler hugged his friend. "Thank you for staying, Brandon. It means a lot to me." "Now," said Margaret, ever practical, "what do we do about the reception? There's food for 200 people in the hall." Emily laughed for the first time in hours. "Let's celebrate. Celebrate that the truth came out and that now we can build something real." The reception was unlike any wedding anyone had ever seen. There was no toast to the newlyweds, but a toast to the courage of starting over. People talked about second chances, forgiveness, and the complexity of love. Tyler spent most of the evening talking to the guests, many of whom only knew him from what Emily had shared. It was his chance to show who he really was. Richard approached him during the party. "Tyler, I want to talk to you about working at the company." "Yes, sir." "You'll start on Monday at 7 in the morning. You'll work at the construction site, learning the business from the ground up. The salary is $2,000 a month." Tyler nodded. It was much less than he'd made at his previous job, but he had committed. "And Tyler," Richard continued, "I'll be keeping an eye on you. Any slip-up, any sign you're deceiving my daughter again, and our conversation ends right there." "I understand, sir, and I appreciate the opportunity." "Don't thank me yet," Richard said with a half-smile. "You have no idea what's waiting for you." Catherine walked up to the two men. "Richard, can we talk later? About us?" Richard looked at his wife affectionately. "Of course, Catherine. We have a lot to discuss." The party went on late into the night. When it finally ended, Tyler and Emily found themselves alone in the parking lot of St. Mary's Church. "Now what?" he asked. "Now you go to your place, I go to mine, and tomorrow we start all over again," Emily replied. "Can I call you?" "You can, but no rushing, no pressure. Let things happen naturally." Tyler nodded. "Emily, I know I have no right to ask for anything, but thank you for giving me this chance." "Don't thank me yet," she said, echoing her father's words. "You still have a lot of work ahead." They said goodbye with a hug. It wasn't the ending Emily had imagined for her wedding day, but somehow it felt right. In the days that followed, the story of the wedding that didn't happen spread through town. Some people criticized Emily for giving Tyler a second chance. Others praised her for the courage to expose everything publicly. Tyler started working at Keystone Construction on Monday, as promised. The work was hard, and he wasn't used to physical labor, but he was determined to prove his worth. Richard, true to his word, kept a close eye on his potential son-in-law. But to his surprise, Tyler proved to be dedicated and eager to learn. "How's he doing?" Emily asked her father after a few weeks. "Better than I expected," Richard admitted. "He arrives early, stays late, asks smart questions. The other employees like him." "And you too? How are you doing?" Richard sighed. "Your mother and I are in couples therapy. Rebuilding trust won't be easy, but we're trying." "I'm glad to hear that, Dad. And you? How are you feeling about Tyler?" Emily thought before answering. "Confused. Some days I miss him. Other days I'm still angry. But I'm trying to focus on the present, not the past." Tyler, meanwhile, was living a completely different life. He stayed in a small apartment downtown, a far cry from the Johnsons' mansion where he'd spent so much time. The apartment had one bedroom, a small living room, a basic kitchen, and a bathroom. It was simple but clean and organized. Tyler had discovered he enjoyed taking care of his own space. One evening, Emily decided to visit him. She called ahead to let him know she was coming. "Emily," Tyler answered the phone, surprised. "Hi, can I stop by? I want to see how you're living." "Of course, but the apartment's really simple, okay?" "No problem." When Emily arrived, she was surprised by what she saw. The apartment was indeed small, but Tyler had made it a home. There were plants by the windows, books on the table, and photos of his family on the wall. "Do you like living here?" she asked. "I do," Tyler replied, making coffee. "It's the first time in my life I have a place that's just mine. No need to share with anyone, no depending on anyone." They talked for hours that night. Tyler talked about work, about how he was learning new things every day. Emily spoke about college, about her plans for the future. "You've changed," she observed as she was leaving. "For the better?" "I think so. You seem more yourself." "That's because I am being myself," Tyler replied, "for the first time in my life." The months passed, and Tyler kept working hard. Richard gradually promoted him, always watching to see if he was truly putting in the effort or just pretending. "He really wants to learn," Richard commented to Catherine one evening. "He took a management course on Saturdays. He's studying civil engineering at night. The boy is taking this seriously." "And Emily?" Catherine asked. "She visits him sometimes. They go out to talk, but nothing romantic yet. She's being careful, and she's right to be. Trust is built slowly." One afternoon, 6 months after the failed ceremony, Emily was passing by her father's construction site when she saw Tyler. He was helping an older worker carry materials, his hands dirty with cement, sweat dripping down his face. What struck her most wasn't seeing him doing hard labor, but the way he treated his co-workers, with respect, as equals. Very different from the man she had known, who always seemed to be trying to prove something. "Emily," Tyler spotted her and waved. "What are you doing here?" "I came to bring some documents for Dad," she said, walking closer. "How are you?" "Good, tired but good," he smiled. "Want to see what we're building?" Tyler took her to tour the site. It was a housing project for low-income families. He explained every detail of the project with enthusiasm, like someone who truly cared about the outcome. "This project is special to me," he said. "I'm helping build homes for people like my mom, people who never dreamed of owning a house." Emily saw tears in his eyes and felt her heart tighten. This man, passionate about his work and committed to making a difference, was so different from the one who had made a bet about her heart. "Tyler," she said impulsively, "do you want to have dinner with me tonight?" He stopped what he was doing and looked at her. "What do you mean?" "A real date, not just a friendly chat, a romantic one." The smile that spread across Tyler's face lit up the entire construction site. "I'd love to." They met at a simple restaurant downtown. Nothing fancy, nothing expensive, the kind of place Tyler could afford on his own salary. During dinner, Emily realized she was seeing Tyler in a new light. He was more mature, more grounded. He spoke about the future with planning, not just dreams. "What do you want from life now?" she asked. "I want to build something solid," he replied. "Not just buildings, but a life, a family. I want people to remember me as someone who left the world a little better when I'm gone." "And me, am I part of those plans?" Tyler took her hand across the table. "Only if you want to be. I don't want anything that isn't real, Emily. If you decide you don't want to try again with me, I'll respect that. But if you do, I'll spend the rest of my life proving you made the right choice." Emily felt butterflies in her stomach. It was the first time in months she'd felt that way. "I want to try," she said. "For real this time." Their relationship started over slowly. They met for lunch, went to the movies, took walks in the park. It was like they were getting to know each other for the first time. Tyler didn't try to rush things. He didn't push to sleep at her place again, didn't bring up marriage. He was genuinely interested in getting to know Emily as a person, not as a trophy. "He really has changed," Sarah remarked to her sister. "Before, it always seemed like he was acting. Now he seems more natural." That's how I feel too, Emily agreed. Like he's found who he really is. 9 months after the failed ceremony, Richard called Tyler into his office for a talk. "Have a seat, son." Tyler sat down nervously. He didn't know if he was about to be promoted or fired. "I have a proposal for you," Richard said. "I want you to be the coordinator of the company's next project, a shopping center on the south side." Tyler's eyes widened. "Sir, I don't have the experience to—" "You've got 9 months of experience here. You know the construction process from start to finish, and more importantly, you've earned the trust of the workers. But what if I fail? Then you'll learn, just like you've learned everything else." Richard smiled. "Tyler, I brought you here to test you, but you surprised me. You not only passed the test, you became a key part of this company." "Sir, And about my daughter," Richard continued. "I see how you two are together now. You've built something real, something solid." Tyler nodded, emotional. "That's why—" Richard opened a drawer and took out a small box. "I want you to have this." It was the engagement ring Tyler had returned months before. "Sir, I can't accept this. That ring was bought with the money from the bet." "No," Richard said. "This ring was paid for with your work these past 9 months. Consider it part of your salary." Tyler took the box with trembling hands. "Do you think she'll say yes?" "I think you've already proven you've changed, Tyler. Now it's time to fight for what you want." That evening, Tyler took Emily to dinner at the same simple restaurant where they'd had their first real date. During dessert, he stood up and knelt beside the table. "Emily," he began, his hands shaking, "a year ago I almost lost you because of lies and games. Today I want to ask you to marry me for the right reason." He opened the box, revealing the ring that sparkled under the soft restaurant lights. "I want to marry you because you've made me a better person. Because you believed in me when I didn't even believe in myself. Because we've built something real together." Tears streamed down Emily's face. Everyone in the restaurant had stopped to watch. "Will you marry me?" Tyler asked. "Yes," she answered without hesitation. "Yes, I will." The restaurant erupted in applause. Tyler slipped the ring onto Emily's finger and kissed her like it was the first time. 2 months later, they married at St. Mary's Church, with many of the same guests. But this time, the ceremony was full of truth and love. During the vows, Tyler said, "Emily, I promise I'll never lie to you again. I promise to work every day to be the man you deserve. And I promise our love will be built on a solid foundation of truth and respect." Emily responded. "Tyler, I promise to forgive the mistakes of the past and focus on the future we'll build together. I promise to believe in you and support your dreams. And I promise our love will be an example of second chances and new beginnings." When Father Thomas declared them husband and wife, the entire church stood in applause. 5 years later, Tyler was a partner at Keystone Construction, and they had 2 children, Ethan and Catherine, names chosen to honor the people who helped them find their way to truth. On the wall of their new home hung a photo of the failed ceremony and one of their real wedding. Between them, a plaque read, "Sometimes you have to lose everything to find everything." The end of the story. Now tell me what you thought of this story of overcoming and second chances. Do you believe Emily made the right decision by giving Tyler another chance? Share your honest thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss other heartfelt stories like this one.